In Our Expert Opinion podcast is brought to you by SVN Saunders Ralston Dantzler Real Estate, a full-service land and commercial brokerage with almost $4 billion in transactions since 1996.
Okay, we're going to try to get this right. We recorded a podcast this morning, and Chad and I almost burned down the building. We had desks falling down in here, and so we have some good bloopers for the previous podcast. But we are back. I am Linda, the co-host of In Our Expert Opinion podcast, and I have maybe my favorite guest here today. I'll introduce him in a second. Also, I mean, I shouldn't discount Chad, so also my favorite person in the room, Chad Mills.
Am I not a guest anymore?
He's
or
not
I'm just a fixture.
Yeah, you're just there, Chad. You're just behind the mic. One day we'll get him in these chairs, which I think are going to be replaced soon. So we're going to get a new look.
I was finally excited to be here for this podcast, and then you just run me down.
I know. That's the job. That's the heavy is the head, Chad.
Thankless. Thankless
It is a
work.
thankless. It's a faceless job, and it's a thankless job. So, not thank you, Chad, for being here. Anyways, my guest, though, my guest on this episode is Keat Waldron. Hi, Keat.
Hey, Linda. Glad to be here, guys. Glad to be here.
And the crowd goes wild.
I know. We're glad to have you. I scheduled you to be on here. I think it was last week. And you said that I threatened you. And I just want to clear the air here that it was a promise of a future event happening if you didn't agree to do the podcast.
And after that threat was made, I made sure to clear my schedule.
It wasn't a threat, Keat. It was just a promise of a future event.
Right. It sounds about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would never threaten you, Keat.
She passed the bar. I wouldn't get into
I would never threaten you.
verbiage with her.
Very good. Very good.
Keat and I were desk neighbors
Yep.
when we first started. So I don't remember how long after I started at SRD that you were brought on. Do you remember when you started?
I started sometime in the late fall of 2018.
Okay, yeah. So I
Yeah.
started in like May or something. So
Really?
not long
yeah,
after.
we weren't far apart there. No.
I miss those days, Keat. I
Yep.
felt that I had better posture because Keat and I would remind each other, we're both like slumped over our desk. And
Yep.
I actually have a video of you where I'm like, posture, Keat.
Yeah,
And you
posture.
sit right up. That's probably why my neck always hurts now. So
Well, you've been seeing a chiropractor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A lot of the posturisms have to do with my dad.
every
being a
now and then
chiropractor.
I'll walk past your office and I want to be like, posture, Keat, knock on the
s-
window.
Upright, yeah.
Yeah.
All those hours at the desk, it's
Yeah.
easy to get slumped in the shoulders.
You were fresh out of college when you started?
I was with another company for the first 8 months right immediately after college.
Boo.
Yep, I know. We won't speak of those times.
No.
But then a new leaf turned over there in the fall of 2018 when I joined Saunders and knew Dean for years prior to that, and just kept in touch all those years. And I don't know, just had a feeling that I would end up there eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you know Dean?
Just, where it really started was when he sold Blue Head Ranch back in Highlands County. I was in high school at the time. And after that really, like, I don't know, for me at least at that time, that was like the recognition of like, oh, Dean Saunders, the land guy. And so after that, my dad at the time, he was partnered with another guy on an investment there off of Lake Istapoga. And so
How do you spell that?
Istapoga, yeah. We'll let the audience
He sounds
Google
bad.
that. Yes.
Spell that for us. Here's how it sounds.
Yeah.
You do your best.
We'll enunciate the words.
Thank
But no, so I think my dad scheduled a meeting with Dean at that time. Saunders ended up listing the property. Actually, at that time, the listing agents were a real trio. It was Richard Dempsey, David Hungerford, and Trent Saunders. So you imagine those three guys together on a listing. It was pretty eventful. And that was the first time I had met those three all together out at the property, because I was there kind of showing them around and stuff like that. But anyway, that was kind of the background on when I met Dean, or kind of became aware of Saunders. And I went to that lunch when my dad met Dean. Dad's just, we've always owned land, invested in land, stuff like that.
I was going to ask, because if your dad is a chiropractor,
yeah, I mean,
how did you?
My dad grew up in Loretta,
Yes,
Florida, without the F.
It is.
For the people out there wondering.
About spelling stuff?
Yeah, about spelling. Yeah, we won't get into the spelling.
Today's podcast, a spelling lesson with Keat Waldron.
Did not win any spelling bee competitions back in the day. No. But
Loretta.
Your dad grew up in Loretta?
Yeah, my dad grew up in Loretta. His dad, my grandfather, was a chicken farmer. So we come from kind of an agricultural kind of ranch land background. Grandfather always had cattle, sort of thing. But yeah, Dad, I think, was ready to get out of Loretta and made that transition. I think he rodeoed when he was younger, got injured at one point, went and saw a chiropractor, and that was kind of like a life-changing moment. Like, oh my gosh, I went from feeling this poorly to feeling this great. And so anyway, I think that's what really got him into wanting to go to chiropractic college and pursue that. But all the same, we've always been ag people. We've always owned a land, grew up on a small ranch, and, hunt, fish.
Oh, I didn't know that you grew up on a ranch.
Yeah, I mean, it was small, like 100 acres by the grand scheme of things of what we sell here. But still, grew up, had to feed the cows every day, had to take care of the chores, typical, I don't want to say true, like, farmer lifestyle, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Farmer light. That's what it is.
Right.
Farmer light.
Right, yeah. The mild version. Yeah.
I did not realize that. And, I never really thought about how, if your dad's a chiropractor, how you got into selling land. But it's interesting that, so you knew in high school that you were going to kind of go into brokerage.
Yeah, I've known since probably later high school that real estate was something I would end up doing. And honestly, there was not many things that changed my mind throughout my college career even. It was always more or less probably largely weighted 80-20 real estate versus maybe something else like financial advising or something of that kind of nature.
What did you major in?
Started out as a finance major at the University of Florida and ended as a food and resource economics major in the College of Ag.
Yeah.
So I just realized, I think I ultimately knew my career path wasn't going to go the full, I thought finance, business, good business rounded kind of degree at the end of the day. And I did, from the core classes I did take as a finance major, it definitely benefited me a lot, because going over to FRE, as they call it, food and resource economics, classes were definitely a little bit more lax, but again, kind of that agriculture incorporation. So I don't know. I feel like it all ended as it should, and I actually didn't waste any classes or anything like that, because I knew going in that the FRE major was always a backup for me. So I took classes that overlapped. Therefore, never wasted any scholarship money or anything like that on courses that would have been just a waste of time.
No, and I think that real estate encompasses, especially land, encompasses everything that you learned. So
right, and they didn't, unfortunately, UF does not have a real estate major. They have a master's program.
I know.
But
I don't know why they don't have undergrad. I think that is so bizarre, because Alachua County is full of...
Well, the Bergstrom Center of Real Estate and just everything, everything that is tied together with real estate at the University of Florida, you would think they would.
Yes.
You would think they'd have a major.
Yes.
They have a minor. I actually I took the classes for the minor, but I took 2 classes for the minor, and I think I would have had to take 2 more, but it just...
It's never too late to go back, Keat.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to venture that far. If anything, I was really potentially looking at doing the MSRE, the Master of Science in Real Estate. But the more I thought about it, and then I think I had even talked to Dean at one point, and some other professionals in the industry, and there's designations out there like the ALC, like the CCIM, and everything else that there is to offer that I feel like is more recognizable, as crazy as that sounds, than just having your master's degree. I just feel like in this industry, if people look at you and you have an ALC or CCIM behind your name, they'll hold that in higher regard.
It's a little more, it's credible.
Masters. Right.
Yeah.
And now there's no telling what I would have learned. I'm sure I would have learned a lot and received a lot from that program, but just at the time, it was extra money at the end of the day, extra time. And I'm like, I want to get in the business, especially a sales type role like what this is. You know, you want to get your foot in the door sooner rather than later and get that career going.
You mentioned ALC, and I think, I don't want to embarrass you, but that you were the youngest ALC for a while, and I think that you have been dethroned now.
I know. I've been hearing that quite a bit lately, and I don't know if I quite want to accept that yet or not. But,
that you're getting old.
No.
I mean,
no. No. What is ALC, first of all?
ALC stands for Accredited Land Consultant.
You are an accredited land consultant.
It sounds really good, doesn't it?
It does.
It's
sound
just
good.
like, I'm like, man, that sounds really
You have a
professional.
beautiful plaque in your office that, has your name on it and the designation.
Actually, I have 2 plaques. I'm a 2-time ALC. Right.
Excuse
Yes. Yes. Did you know that? Have you ever heard of that? I mean, I have 2 plaques to represent it. I mean, anyone can go into my office and see.
Excuse me.
Yeah, right.
I beg your pardon.
No, that was I just
Your office is well decorated.
I know, yeah. Anyone that is stopping by the office, feel free to
The
go.
world's most interesting man lives there.
Yes, he
The
does.
Dos Equis, man.
Yep. You have to
But-
come by and see for yourself.
You were, Nobody ever goes down that hallway. I like that hallway a lot.
Well, every now and then when Dean or a partner is showing someone around the office, they walk by my office, and there's always a hesitation and kind of like a look back, a smile or a laugh, and then they keep going. And I've been surprised because, we've had some pretty prestigious people come through here, and just business people in general, and it's one of those things like, I wonder at what point I'm going to get told to
take down the Dos Equis,
man.
man.
At this point, I've left them up so long, it has to be a pretty good reason to take them down.
Yeah, you know what? Just keep doing what you're doing, Keat.
Yeah, it's working out.
But the youngest ALC, you were.
Right, because I received my ALC designation mid last year, shortly after making the trip to Nashville, or Murfreesboro, Tennessee, actually. And we did the Land U week. It was 10 days, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so did the cram course there, took the exams. I had met all the other requirements, submitted my portfolio. So, I got my ALC designation mid last year. And at that time, once they reviewed everything and, gave me the designation, they're like, by the way, you're the youngest accredited land consultant in the state of Florida. I'm like, really? That's great to know.
I know. That's a good title.
Let's market that everywhere. So, because, it's one of those things like, obviously proud of that.
Yes, you should be.
But I didn't expect it. So it's like, let's run with it.
Yeah.
This is great. While the going's good, let's take advantage of this.
We're going to have to, is it going to come down to a couple of days between you and our very own Zeb Griffin?
Yes, I will go ahead and say that because...
Are you conceding to Zeb?
Zeb is younger than me.
Okay.
And he now has his ALC designation. You walk by his office, his plaque is hanging proudly.
Just one plaque, though, right?
Yeah.
Just one, yeah. That's
Well,
true.
no,
It's
he
just
also has his, as he calls it, his Dundee, his recognition of excellence
Yes.
award. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a
this
little.
past year.
Mhm,
Yeah.
He said,
reference
I
to the
said, how did you
office.
get that? And he's
Yeah.
like, somebody said something good about me. I'm like, well, no wonder I haven't received one of those.
Yeah, you don't see many of those.
No,
around
you
here.
don't.
Yeah, special guy there.
I know.
Yeah, so I think Zeb is now officially the youngest ALC in the state. So he now wears the crown.
He does.
I will.
As I said earlier in this episode, heavy is the head, Keat.
I know. Well, it's less heavy now that the crown is off.
It's almost like a pageant. You just passed it, you just passed it on.
We won't quite call it a pageant.
The ALC pageant.
Yeah, I'm sure if you saw the lineup of the contestants for that pageant, you would not call it a pageant.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
no, I love.
Rough crowd. No,
I'm
just kidding.
glad that you pursued the ALC instead of going back and getting something else in G Vegas. You and I don't have a very good track record of going back there, or at least not on game day.
Right. Game day has its own special aura about it that seems to bring out the youth in all individuals, no matter what age. But it's an exciting time.
Yeah. Gainesville's always an exciting time.
Fast times.
Yeah, maybe when you're older, Keat, you can go back and.
Oh, for sure. Well, when I was in Alpha Gamma, I am in Alpha Gamma Rho for life. It's just how it works.
Oh.
But I was going to say, when I was in AGR, it's easy to say something like that. But when I was an active AGR
Yes.
at the University of Florida on alumni, weekends or it was an alumni weekend for a game. There was a gentleman, and I'm trying to remember his name, but he was in his 90s. But he still, just shared a passion for AGR, for the brotherhood there, and I think what it probably gave him in his career and his life. So you see a lot of people come back that are just really grateful and thankful for all that the fraternity gave them and that the University of Florida gave them. And I think I continue to see that, in this office with all the UF alum that we have here, including yourself. So, a lot of proud Gators around here.
Definitely.
Glad that makes up a majority of our office.
I am very
alumni.
thankful for that.
Yeah.
There's a few stragglers. There's a few, we won't even get into it. Because some of them I like, and I don't want to offend them. So,
No. Well, proud to be a Florida Gator.
Yes, ditto. Okay, so then you decided to go into land. You knew Dean because he had sold some of your family's property.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, working next to you, you're a much better worker than anybody is a better worker than I am, because I'm like up, down, I'm talking, I'm this, that. I have seen moments, Keat, where people are having some intense conversations literally over you, and you are sitting there writing the most important email of your life. You have very good focus and drive and determination, and I think that's why you have your own office with your Dos Equis, man.
Yep, I appreciate that. It's all come together.
Yeah.
In these past, oh my gosh, I hate that I now have to literally count how many years I've been here. I'm like, basically, realistically, 2019 was my first true year in the business. 2018, the latter half of that year was getting acclimated, right?
Yeah.
Just like, in a sales position, like being, a real estate agent is, when you're strictly judged and, make your living off your sales performance, it's definitely tough at first, but definitely persevered, and it's definitely not all me. This company gave me anything and everything I could have asked for in terms of a team and just people surrounding me and just enjoying being here, I think being around the people here, there's not a single person in this office that I dislike. Get along with everyone. You hear about office drama in other, just you talk to friends, casually. It's, it seems like there's always drama somewhere. But no, I feel like we're a pretty drama-free office, and just a lot of people with similar interests and, non-similar interests. But that keeps things entertaining, I think. But yeah, it's flown by these past 19,
I know, but I
20.
feel like it really took off for you. So, I kind of wanted to go into how you. I cannot remember. I remember that we went to Top Golf. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, wow.
Or was it a year ago or something?
Probably a couple years ago.
Was it 2?
We were at the old office.
Really?
I believe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel like you won an award there because you were like top agent or something.
I will not claim that by any means. We got some studs in our office when it comes to performance and sales volume. But I think for, being as early in my career as it is, I think I've done probably above average, I think for kind of overall, sales and just, I'm fully focused on it.
Yeah. I think so too. I think that once you're kind of locked in, and especially being like younger and newer in the market or, in this environment, it's, you kind of have that motivation or like drive to kind of get to the top there. And
well, I graduated and it was like, this is it, basically real estate is going to be where my focus is. And I think everyone has that, idea about agents of like, okay, are they part-time or are they full-time? And, you just basically, when you're speaking with clients and all, you got to let them know that this is your full-time job and that you are fully dedicated to serving them and their needs, and just, going above and beyond to make sure you're meeting expectations.
Yeah.
So
no, that's funny because I wanted to actually bring this up on a couple of other podcasts, with any of our agents, but it's like, I think that there is not so much on, I just think that there might be this stigma about sales and how maybe it's not so like prestigious or, this like high level type of stuff. But, I think I know that I should. I don't really think of real estate as sales.
Well,
I know that it is.
And I feel like sales differs from industry to industry.
Yes.
It really does. And the kind of people that it probably kind of, I don't know, you do have salespeople. You have the people
I'm thinking of 3 right now.
Yeah. And, you get the phone calls every day, or a lot of people get the phone calls every day from people who are just, dialing for dollars, trying to make, 500 phone calls in a day. And I don't know. I think the real estate industry probably does, like you said, some people's perception from the outside, not knowing anything about it, definitely has that connotation. But until you're in the middle of it, and until you're honestly doing it for yourself, you don't realize just how genuine of an industry it can be. And I think, I've definitely, not that I had that perception. I never thought that real estate agents were salesy. There's probably a few out there, but at least specifically tied to the niche kind of market that we deal in the commercial world and the land space. Just have met a lot of great, very intelligent, genuine people.
Yeah.
That really are looking out for their clients' best interests. So
yeah.
I've been very pleased that I've had many more great experiences working with other brokers, other people in the space, than I have negative experiences. So
I know you will never speak ill, especially not on a recording, but you have had some very interesting. So actually, let's go into what you focus on. You're in land, but specifically,
ranch and recreational tracts are what I love. And, that's probably from a more simplistic standpoint. I say that, but, for the people who've never been on ranch land and things of that nature, stuff that I might think is just basic knowledge, common knowledge, they might be like, oh, wow, that's interesting. But from a standpoint of just raw land goes, I enjoy, ranch and recreational properties. But I've basically, over the past couple of years, I've gotten into a few more transitional sales. You kind of have to be focused on that kind of sector a little bit in this environment that we're in, and with the growth that we've seen over the past few years. I think everyone who is in the land space can't just focus on, just one type or one segment of that market. I think you have to kind of expand a little bit, because there will be times where certain sectors of the market will be moving quicker than others, and you kind of want to be able to gravitate to those areas where there's higher volume at the time, maybe.
Yeah, just be
or
flexible.
More demand. Yeah, you want to go just like in the stock market. Sometimes stock market's moving sideways and there's not a lot of trading action going on. But when that market gets volatile and it's moving up and down like it's been recently, you have a lot more people getting in on the trading action. So as volatile as this market has been the past few years, you've seen also a lot more people getting into the real estate business. Probably more so on the residential side, just because that's primarily where people's focus goes is, you're in real estate, you sell homes. But, obviously, when you look at the greater picture, there's a lot more to it than just the residential side.
Have you heard of this trend where it's like, whenever you see more people getting their real estate license, that's when you know that there's going to be like a recession? When that number starts going up, you know that all other numbers are about to start going down.
It's a sign of the times.
Yes,
when you get on Facebook or social media and you see a few select people, they're like, got my real estate license, I'm ready to go. And, like you said, that they get on the hot streak. That is the market that in which, and again, I nothing against residential agents, but that just is I would assume that's where most real estate agents focus, or the large majority of the population is in residential, because there's so many homes out there than there are, commercial or land focused agents, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely see a lot of people who have gotten their licenses in the past 2 years that you would not have normally been like, oh, wow, that's a surprise. But nevertheless, I don't blame anyone for getting in more or less on the action.
Yeah.
If they have, job flexibility or that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
as, real estate has kind of been, or it has been my sole focus these past many years.
What do you foresee in the next year coming up with the land?
So where do I see the market going?
Yeah.
More or less? Well, I think the stock market is really going to, I don't know. I definitely have greater recessionary fears going into 2023 than I did this year.
Yes.
I was fairly confident coming into this year that not much was going to change. And we have had, there's been a lot more pressure kind of going into the latter half of 2022. But I feel like that the way the stock market is moving and how, the stock market's kind of the most volatile, thing that people look at first, right? And real estate is a lagging indicator. So it'll be some time before we really see it in our space. But there's little signs here and there that I probably can't, comment on as much as some of the more tenured agents in this office. I'm still a newbie by many standards. There's some guys and gals in here that have been doing it for a long time. But no, I unfortunately, I do see demand really drawing down next year. Quote me here on this podcast.
Keat said it here
first. Should I select a date? I'm going to say June of next year.
Really?
Yeah.
Chad,
turn of the
mark
tide
that
right
down
there.
in our calendars.
Right.
So I'm going to mark it down, but we can release these podcasts whenever we want. So we'll just keep holding off to release.
That makes sense.
We'll release yours in July of next year, Keat.
There's a high potential this podcast never gets aired. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
So we'll see how the market's doing in June of next year.
Right.
And we'll be like, all right, we'll hold this for one more year.
If you're spot on, though, Keat, I'm going to be pretty impressed, and I'm going to start dialing you anytime. I'm what should I do about X, Y, and Z?
Yep. I'm going to get on Facebook ads. I'm going to be like, I predicted the market. It's going to be it's going to be great.
So you have had, though, some of the more interesting transactions that I've seen, just in terms of how much work you have had to put forth for what would not be something that would send you into an early retirement. It seems that I know that the smaller deals are always the most work to work on. But I remember, I want to say I know of 2 or 3 deals that you've had where you've gone so above and beyond for your clients and gotten those over the finish line. But you want to talk about those experiences a little?
Sure, and just kind of referencing the smaller transactions being more work. That is certainly the case I have found in the transactions that I have completed. And I have, I've sold my first transaction in this business was a 3-acre citrus grove in Frostproof. So that was a humbling experience. And it was certainly what I didn't expect to jump into anything grand, right off the foot, when I started. But yeah, that 3-acre transaction and just the types of buyers that were coming through at the time and, just, I don't know, the complexity and their ideas of what they wanted to do on this 3-acre grove, because it was going to be transitional at the time, and it wasn't going to be continued to be used as a grove. Everyone had a different idea for that 3 acres. So it's funny though. It seems like on the bigger properties or the larger transactions, those buyers are just more well-focused on what they want and what they need. And, that somehow,
not everybody can afford a $32 million, property, but there are a lot more people who could afford a $300,000 property.
Yep, that's what it comes down to. So you deal with a higher volume of calls, higher volume of people, higher volume of ideas for that property.
I just remember you being like, asking, I don't even remember really what the question was about, but I was like, you need to consult an attorney because I have no idea.
Yeah, there's been a few times in the past, and definitely at the old office, like you said, when we were desk mates back in the day, where anytime I was looking over a deed, a legal description, things of that nature, there were a few nuances and in terms that I'm like, Linda, I have a question for you.
I rarely had an answer. I don't know that I ever had an answer.
And then I just interpreted it. I think for the most part, we're able to interpret. We're not attorney.
Yes.
Or I'm not an attorney. No. You are an attorney, which is why I was asking you those questions. But
it's hard. It's really difficult because, and I've said it so many times on this podcast, but real estate encompasses accounting, legal.
Right.
I mean, those two things alone will keep somebody busy.
Yeah.
But you have had, I feel like you've put in a lot of hours.
It's crazy. There's some deals that have just come to fruition so quickly.
Yeah.
And very easily, and they've been on the, bigger side, I'd say. And it's just surprising when you've, kind of ran up the hill as hard as you can on some of these smaller transactions, and you've worked every angle you could, you've closed deals, and you just think, wow, that's what it takes to close a deal of this size. But then you get the opportunity at a bigger deal, and definitely, listen, there's plenty of large transactions out there that are very complicated. I don't want to make it sound like just large transactions are easy, but in my experience, some of the, definitely at the time, past couple of years, around $1 million transaction value, that I've been like, expecting a lot more work, let's just say. I still put in the same amount of effort, obviously, on a small deal as I do a big deal to, accommodate buyer and seller needs. But yeah, just been very fortunate that some of the bigger deals have gone as smoothly as they have.
I don't know if we talked about it on here or just maybe after airing one, that when you have somebody that's coming to the table with $5 million cash to put down on this piece of property, there's a reason why they got to that point. Like, they're smart with their money. They've thought everything through, and they're coming to the table with this amount of money because they have this amount of experience, and they're like, hey, this is what I want to do with this land, and if this isn't it, then I'll move on. Like, they're not beating you down for...
Yep, I agree with that 110%.
But, I mean, there's the other side where you get somebody calling you to list their property, that they have this really nice, expensive piece of property, but they're tied to the intrinsic value of it so much that sometimes you have to have those conversations on the big deals that you're like, yeah, your property may not go for what you're thinking, but we'll give you a BPO. We'll, try to help you get there.
And I mean, you have some families out there that, I mean, they own all this land, or maybe they have a property in the path of development and they're selling it. They're, going to obtain millions of dollars potentially for that property, and they might come from a background where their family's never had that kind of money before, but the timing is just right. They finally have decided to sell. And, that is a totally new experience for them. And they just might have other ideas because simply they don't have the experience of, it's not like they've sold a property like that before. So that's where we come to the table, and we provide that expertise level and valuation perspective for them. And they may or may not agree with you, of course. But, it's our job to be trustworthy and truthful with them so they at least know what to expect. We can list a property perhaps for any price they might desire, but obviously there's sometimes a negative connotation with listing a property for sale at too high of a level. It depends on everyone's timeline and kind of their goals and motivations. So
I was going to ask
there's a lot that comes into that.
What do you do if your client doesn't agree with your valuation?
You say, no, sir, or ma'am. I've been on NR Expert Opinion podcast. I am an expert here.
Correct.
Is that what you tell them?
Yep. I say, well, now I can say, go to podcast number so-and-so.
Where I predict the future.
Exactly. No, it's it's very interesting, actually. Just that, the different expectation levels that you experience with people.
Yes.
And especially in this market too, expectations have been so much higher over the past few years. And now, everyone thinks they can continue to get more. And so they wait. They're sitting on their hands. they're thinking, oh, this thing is just going to keep going to the moon. And, that's just kind of what we've been trying to tell people is this ride isn't going to last forever. We are going to deal with a pullback, and we don't know how long that will last. So it's one of those things that if you really are considering selling in the next, 2 to 5 years, now is a great time. And you really do sound like a salesman when you're like, now's a great time. The market's great. It does come off salesy kind of, pertaining to that connotation we were talking about earlier. But at the end of the day,
I think you're looking out for your client's best interest.
We really are.
If you know that they want to sell, and the future, obviously we never know. We never know what's going to happen.
Realistically,
but the point is, there are indicators as to what might happen.
Well, and when you're in it and you're doing it every day and you're listening to people like Dean, like Todd, like Gary, you're listening to, many of the well-tenured agents in our office, that have been doing this for decades. Again, I'm just a new guy here and I have my, little tidbits here and there, but, you really kind of take that all into consideration. And when you track values as closely as our company has tracked values for many, many years,
decades now.
Yeah. So we know what we're talking about. But at the end of the day, again, we cannot predict the future, but we know when times are good and we know when times are bad. And we want people to have realistic expectations going into the future. And I think to an extent we can predict that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely, it's been very fun so far, honestly. I can say that I have enjoyed my experiences. I have learned a lot more than I thought I would have learned. And at the end of the day, going back to education briefly, you'll never learn in a classroom what you will from real world experiences, at least pertaining to real estate. And what I have, every industry is probably a little different in that nature. But at least pertaining to real estate, there's always something new to learn. Conversations you have with attorneys, landowners, other agents.
Law school never prepared me for the real world clients and situations that I have encountered. And I mean, I didn't go to school for real estate, but I've been in this for a little bit now, and the real world is wild.
It is.
And the people are wild in it, but it is a lot of fun. And I think that I've only done, 1 or 2 land transactions, but I had so much fun. They were really good. It was for like a ranch, land.
Yeah. I think I do recall, actually.
Yes.
I remember those deals now.
And there were cows on the land, and I was like, this is the best day of my life.
This is great. You're just riding around.
I got to touch these cows. Exactly. It was so much fun. I got to ride around in this truck out in this pasture.
Right.
It was fun.
And I mean, that's the whole reason why I love this business. Those are the kind of people that I've grown up around as, ranchers, outdoorsmen, outdoors women as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you surround yourself with, things and people that you're familiar with. And to that regard, I mean, I've grown up on ranch land and with friends who have land. And it's just like, that's just kind of what I've gravitated toward. And, there's a lot of different kind of, I feel like, sectors of this industry that you can get involved in, but definitely kind of my heart and my passion lies with ranch and recreational properties and citrus properties. Growing up in Highlands County, I mean, that whole area is still very hardcore agricultural by nature. There is development. There's new things coming. Actually, Sebring's getting a Chick-fil-A, which is mind-blowing.
I'm so excited. I take that way down to Miami.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. When you're going through Sebring, through Highlands County, it's like, oh my gosh, where is somewhere quick and good that I can, get a sandwich or whatever. And now you can add Chick-fil-A to the list.
Specifically a chicken sandwich.
Yes.
So let's just clear, you do not focus solely in polk.
Correct. No, I honestly, my region of expertise, as I'd like to call it, and which honestly, I think this is what I probably am most proud about is that, and I think a lot of the agents in our office are this way just because of the coverage our company has. We are statewide, we're into other states, we're international. I mean, we have such a broad reach. But for me, I think I've, a lot of people, especially from my hometown, for instance, I have not probably done as many deals in Highlands County as I'd like to. I have done deals in Highlands, in Sebring specifically, my hometown. Obviously, you have relationships there and, just a lot of great relationships there. But nevertheless, I've been in Marion County, Sumter County. I've been in Osceola County, Okeechobee County, Hillsborough County, Glades County, as far as transactions go. So it's like you start doing deals in all these different market areas, and that too kind of allows me to have a better grasp, I feel like, of the market overall, and it gives me more of a well-rounded
Yeah, you're not
vision.
just in one place
Right.
focusing solely on that, but you have like a broad,
Right. 'Cause
all-encompassing.
It varies from market to market. I mean,
Yeah.
all the different kind of niches of real estate do. So, yeah, I'm kind of proud to have been able to dabble a little bit in all these different market areas. And, at any point in time, if I get a call from someone in Sumter County or Marion County or somewhere that they might think, oh, well, you're based out of Lakeland. It's like, well, no, I mean, I've sold, this 500-acre ranch here or this 100-acre property here. I have experience in this region, and, I can help you. So I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, no, I like that too. It's very flexible, and you can kind of go wherever you want.
Right. 3 hours is kind of the like.
Until you get a helicopter key, the driving radius is going to be a 3 hour max.
I agree.
Well, how
3 hours in a Corvette? That you can max out the range.
I don't know if Keat can drive in those ranches in the Corvette.
That is the only problem with the Corvette, is it does not go off road.
Well, we can try. Yeah,
we'll put a hitch on it. We've got the new agent side by side.
I have seen that done. I have seen someone actually pull a boat. I couldn't tell you how. It was a fairly large boat that was being pulled by this Corvette down the highway. It was
got
definitely
the motor for it.
It was definitely, yeah, you got the horsepower, but nevertheless, it's just a sight to see.
Yes.
I will not be doing that though.
Okay, I believe you. How can any ranch and rec land buyers and sellers get in touch with you?
Well, you can, of course, go to our SVN Saunders website and search for Keat Waldron under advisors.
And
Keat Waldron, ALC.
Comma.
Yep, or kwaldron at sreland.com, or my personal cell phone number. Oh my goodness, can you believe that? No, I sound like every.
I'm like, do I need to write this down?
No. I sound like every agent out there.
So
every
like,
salesperson.
Hey, here's my number.
No, every salesperson is like,
I
here
pick
is
up
my
24/7.
personal
I will
cell
answer no
phone.
matter what time of day or
Call me
night.
anytime, 24 hours, it's on. But no, and I do not post on it as much as I'd like to, but I have an Instagram, and that handle is Call the Landman. Yeah, that is trademarked.
It doesn't say Keat on it?
No,
It's just the Landman?
it's Call the Landman.
Okay.
That's
I do
usually-
follow it,
then
and I
you-
do
then-
like
then
all
you
of
pull
your
it up, and it
posts.
says Keat Waldron. But
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Keat, for coming on.
No problem. I really enjoyed it, Linda. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. And hopefully this will air before next June with Keat's big prediction.
Only time will tell.
Thanks for coming in.